Hello, welcome to our next virtual PLC. I am Dr. Zandra Bell McCroy, and I am your virtual PLC lead for 6 through 12 band. And let's jump right into our next topic, differentiation in the band room. And so we're going to look at this topic with fresh eyes. When we typically go to workshops or PLs regarding differentiation, it's rare that we look at it through a band lens. So that's what we're going to do today, and I hope is helpful for you. So the topics we're going to cover are differentiation in the band room, why we focus on this, how does it work for us, and then pulling it all together. And so we're just going to take it kind of step by step. Like I said, we rarely get to look at differentiation through the band director lens, and so we are going to take a little time today to discuss it. This is a topic that I have poured over for years, and hopefully, what we cover today will be helpful to you. So, just jumping right into differentiation in the band room. So, the definition is, according to Standard First, a really great article. I have it at the end. I reference it at the end of the PowerPoint. But differentiation in the band room. Um, the definition of just differentiation is the recognition of and commitment to plan for student differences. Again, the recognition of and commitment to plan for student differences. So remember, a differentiated classroom provides varied avenues to acquire content, process information, and develop final products. So it's a really broad thing, but it really is as simple as just acknowledging those student differences and planning accordingly. So why should we focus on this in our band rooms? Why is this so important for us? Well, differentiation recognizes that students are at different levels of readiness, and every band director knows that's a reality for us. It also recognizes that students vary in how they process new information or skills. And finally, differentiation recognizes that student interests also influence student learning. So all of these things seem like no-brainers to us as band directors, but oftentimes when we are in these professional learning environments and we're talking about differentiation, we're kind of locked out. But just the sheer nature of what we do and how we do it, it really does lend itself very well to a differentiated classroom. So this is just a quote from the Standard for article that I talked about earlier. Teachers need to make modifications for students rather than assume that students will modify themselves to fit the curriculum. Such a great quote because oftentimes we get this curriculum set in our minds and we think about the concepts and skills that need to be acquired over the course of the year, but then we also don't think about the differences that we have to to account for with our students. It's really important that everything we do is student focused, and I feel like that's just been a common theme for me this year. Really, because coming out of our digital learning year, I feel like it's very important for us to remember that everything that we're doing is supposed to be centered around our students and what's best for them. So, how does it work for us? This is the meat and potatoes. Let's jump right in. So, let's just really unpack this. All right, let's really unpack it. We're going to unpack it just for the purposes of making sure that we're really clear on what differentiation really means and what the model really is about. We've all been through this training over and over again, I'm pretty sure. But I did want to, I did think that it was worth a few minutes to kind of unpack Tomlinson's model so that we can understand how to build it rebuild it for us. So first off, Tomlinson's model um, states that learning should be structured to fit the students. We've already talked about that. And then also knowing where your students are is essential. It's really important to know where they are so that you can meet them there. And then finally, knowing where your students need to go is also essential. So everything should be student focused, right? Student focus, like what they need from us. That is really important. And then knowing where they are, and then knowing where you want them to go. So that's where that curriculum, oh, my little ring light died. That's where that curriculum comes into play, right? All right. And then, so once we know exactly where they are and where we want to take them, then we can begin to really think about how we can differentiate in our classrooms. Now, these are things that are important for us to remember about our classrooms. We have a plan for what needs to be taught for each ensemble or class, as well as a plan for assessment of skill and knowledge achievement. So we know what they need to know. We've figured it out. That's really important. And it's really important for us to remember that because we, as band directors and orchestra directors, choral directors, music teachers, art teachers, any fine arts area, we're really great and really good at planning our work and working our plan. And so it's really important. We need to acknowledge that that's something that we already do. So that's one less thing that we have to tackle, right? That new thing. And then the next thing, every piece of music is chosen to teach or reinforce specific skills and knowledge. So we know that because of our standards, they need to know these things and have these skills. And because of the standards we have for each class. And so we choose music that's going to help us to reinforce and to further teach those concepts and skills. All right. And then finally, the goal of teaching a piece of music is to further students' musical understanding. So music isn't just there just for kicks and giggles, right? We are teaching each piece, we're using each piece as a vehicle to advance students and not just advance them so they can play that one piece, but that their skill level is high enough so that they can take all of those skills that they mastered and they've really reinforced all of those skills on this piece and take it to the next piece and then go up another level because it's all spiral, of course. And then finally, don't forget that Tomlinson's model for differentiated instruction was first developed for non-music areas. So in the traditional core four, right? So this requires us to do some tweaking to make it work for us. So this is where things get interesting. This is typically where music teachers just say, forget it. Okay. And because we don't get that guidance to help steer us through this process of how to differentiate in the music classroom. Right. So it's easier to just say, I'm just going to keep going. But it's really not just about differentiating for differentiating's sake. It's really about differentiating for kids' sake. Right. So making sure that everything that we do is about um, making our kids have a better, allowing our kids to have a better teaching and learning process, a better musical experience. All right, this is another quote from Stanford, and I purposefully pulled from just one article out, other than the Tomlinson resources, but I purposely pulled from one article so that it could be really focused and it's not just information overload. So this is a really short article. It's like from a journal, and it's easy to access, and I think it's a great read, easy read, quick read, and it's easy to implement really quickly. So, differentiation not only recognizes that students are at different levels of readiness, but it also recognizes that students vary in how they process new information or skills, as well as in what their interests are. So, we've hit those three areas, right? Readiness level, um, the way they process information, and also what they're interested in. So we've circled back to that idea that we talked about earlier with Tomlinson's model, right? So it's really important just to keep that centered on students. Those three areas: readiness level, processing, and interest. All right, moving on. So, in our next segment, we are going to dive deeper into this idea of differentiating in the music classroom and how to make it doable for us so that it is not so unattainable. All right. So I look forward to seeing you back for the next session. Um, See you soon. Bye.